Philadelphia, are you ready?
They said, are you ready?
This is Brotherly Love Wrestling Podcast, your first stop for everything professional wrestling. So sit back and enjoy wrestling talk at its finest with your hosts, Larry Hall and Joe Corrado.
Welcome everybody to Brotherly Love Wrestling, and on today's show we have a guest from one of our favorite campgrounds, and one of our favorite campers joins us, Abby Jane. Abby, welcome to the show.
Hey, I'm really excited to be here. I was like super happy. I was like so excited all day for this.
It's so funny to say one of our favorite campgrounds, one of our favorite campers. It just feels like it's just, as much as we watched it, it's still so new to us in wrestling to see a camp of wrestling. It's an ingenious idea, and we've talked to many of the campers. I don't want to put that in quotation because you guys are campers.
They are campers.
Oh yeah,
I'm
for
going to
sure.
take back those quotes.
So many camping trips, but it's just with wrestling, so it's like a better camping trip, ultimate campground.
How has that been? You're very new to wrestling, correct?
Yes.
How has that been to kind of be introduced to something as obscure as a wrestling campground, kind of like one of your first official match, correct?
Yeah, yes.
So,
It's been like, it's been like, it's been like kind of crazy, I guess, because I started out Camp Leapfrog just like helping out. And then eventually I was just like, oh, I think I can debut for this. And I asked Chris Levin about it. And he was like super open to me debuting as a wrestler. It's been kind of like interesting because obviously it is different than a lot of other promotions out there. But I debuted in a trios tournament. So like that was just like a really cool experience getting to do that. And yeah, like even if it is different, like I've had a lot of really cool experiences that I think, like it's been awesome to be able to be there.
Now, how's that going to make you? Is it going to make you look differently when you're booked other places? You're going to look like more fondly on Camp Leapfrog. Like, I just want to go back to camp.
I mean, like it's hard to say because like I haven't like, I've only been debuted for about like 2 months now, so I haven't worked in a lot of other places yet. But like in the few experiences that I had, like it's felt very weird not having like all of my friends there. Like there's like a few here and there and a couple acquaintances. But it's not so much like Camp Leapfrog where it's like every single person is just like, I've been on the road with them. I've like traveled everywhere. We've like done so many things together, spent like 8-hour days, like doing like events together. So it's kind of weird, like venturing out into the world without like all my friends at the campground. But I'm just like, with each new step, I've just kind of just been very excited to see like how things are different, how they're the same. And like, when it comes down to it, everything's the same when you get inside the ring, and like it's home, like no matter where you go.
So, and as you started, like we said, you fairly new to professional wrestling. It probably is the best time for a woman to get into professional wrestling at this point. I mean, no time has been bigger or better for women's wrestling. I mean, was that something that drove you to get into wrestling? Was how it has been building over the past couple of years?
Definitely. I mean, I started watching wrestling when I was like 13 or 14. And like around the time it was like the Divas. And that wasn't something that I necessarily like really enjoyed. And like I basically just like from the first moment I started watching wrestling, there was something about it where it was like, I feel like I can do this. But then I would watch like the women's matches and I'm like, oh, maybe I don't want to like do that so much. But then in like 2015, obviously we had like Bayley and Sasha's Takeover Brooklyn match. That's when I started like branching out into like discovering the indie scene. So I saw like Candice LeRae and PWG, and like at that time, Kimberly won the Chikara Grand Championship. So there was like so many things happening for women when I was like, still a teenager, and I was realizing like, oh, like there are really cool things happening for women, and like it only started to grow from there. And I just realized like, oh, this is something I can do and that's realistic. Um, and yeah, I've had like great experiences so far, like just been treated like a wrestler in my experience so far, like not like a diva, not like anything, just treated as like an equal, which is like all I've ever wanted.
And that's kind of the way that it's starting to sway that way, is that it's not women's wrestling and men's wrestling, it's just wrestling. And
Yeah.
that's what, especially on the indies. I mean, I know there's still divisions in the big companies and whatnot, but on the indies, it's pretty much, all right, we can mix match any single person and they can go together and we can put together a solid match.
Oh yeah. That's been so fun because like anytime that I've wrestled men, like they've and like women too, like you can learn, I've been able to learn from like anyone that I've been in the ring with, like regardless of gender. And so like, I don't know. I just think that if I was only able to do women's matches, there's no way I would have been able to learn as much as when I've had the experiences of like doing my like trios matches with a very good professional wrestler and like, you know, going to do a cybernetico with like all these different people and like different like experience levels and different things that they know and different places we've trained. Like it's just been wild, and I'm just like really glad that like this has been my experience so far in wrestling.
So out of all of the campers and the people that you come across, whose brain do you pick the most?
Oh, I ask Chris Levin a lot. He's not, he's kind of like the head of the campers, but like he knows so much about wrestling. He's been around for a while. And he's just like always made sure that like I felt comfortable, that I like am able to like share my ideas. He'll ask me for ideas. He's definitely like helped me a lot when I've been like trying to come through here. And of course, like all of my trainers, like a very good professional wrestler, Travis Huckabee. I've had some classes with Orange Cassidy, like so many people who like I'm really glad that I've had the chance to learn from.
So what does a class from Orange Cassidy sound
He
like?
just likes to sit there. Oh, but I've learned a lot because he knows so much. It's always like super fun, like hearing like what his perspective is on things.
Especially with a gimmick that he has, like, you know what I mean, being able to learn off of that and see that that must be huge to be put in your back pocket, to have that and be able to use that.
Oh, definitely. And like I love his gimmick so much that like it was like one of my inspirations when like coming up with my characters, like, well, how does he do things? And like how can I do things? And so like being able to ask him like things about like being that character and like being like how does that work? That's been like definitely such an amazing thing that I've been glad to have.
There's been many people that still are trying to figure out how that works.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm still on my way. Like I by no means know much of anything. But like it's definitely like due to like the people around me and like the things I've been trying to study. I feel like, I've gotten some good feedback on like what I present in wrestling so far. So I only hope that I can get better from there.
So what do you do to make your character your own? And I know you draw off of other people and whatnot, but how do you hone it all in and make it unique to yourself?
I guess the way that I started thinking about like what I want to present in wrestling is that like when I saw Bailey for the first time, I like looked at her come out of the curtain in NXT and I was like, oh my gosh, that's me. And so like obviously like Bailey has that gimmick that's kind of like that. Kylie Ray had a gimmick that's kind of like that. And I know that like I've already been compared to Kylie and Bailey so far. And so when I was trying to think about how to make myself different, the idea I kind of started from is like, when I was like a teenager, I ran like a wrestling fan account on like Instagram. And like I've been like kind of on the internet a lot with wrestling. And so I took inspiration from like being like an internet stan and like makeup YouTube vloggers and like trying to figure out how to like present a persona that's kind of like specifically like what an internet fan would do. Like I take selfies when I come out to the ring. So all that I feel maybe kind of sets me apart a little bit. I'm still like working on how to even make it stand out even more. But that was kind of my base with starting out with it.
So do you use your character as kind of like a mask for what you can do in the ring? Like, okay, I'm going to be bubbly and I'm going to be happy and blah, blah, blah. And then when I get in the ring, oh, they think I'm not taking this serious.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's kind
It's
of,
an ingenious move.
oh yeah, I always kind of like that. And like, being very bubbly and happy, but still being able to like show off that like, no, I've like studied really hard for this. And like, I know lots of these really cool moves too. And also I have that like fiery side to me that like, I can turn that on if you don't take me seriously. So yeah, like I think I have a lot of other things about me and not just like that bubbly excited part.
Yeah, I to touch on that, I mean, I think it was live in January watching that, and you got in the ring with Devontes, and I think it was the first time because I think I had missed your match at Trios, and I think it was the first time I saw you get in the ring, and surprised the hell out of me because you whipped him around that ring, and a guy that big and. The size difference, obviously,
Oh yeah.
is already enough. And then you guys, the way you put on the show was amazing. I was like, yo, this is ridiculous. I did not expect it. And shame on me for being a professional wrestling fan and not expecting that. But it was great. It was fun to watch. And like you said, like it is the perfect cover to where when you get in there and you tear it down, you surprise a lot of people just from your stature alone and break that barrier down.
Yeah, that's definitely that match specifically. Like I got so much feedback on it, just people being like, wow, this is so surprising. And like Devonta's is so great to work with. It was just super like such a cool experience having that. And like he was, so willing to like, we made like a really good story with that. So I liked that.
If anything is tested more in wrestling, it's the David versus Goliath storyline. And I haven't seen many miss. To be in that like underdog role, like, oh, there's no way I can possibly go against this person. It's like a good like setting to have.
Yeah. Oh,
And it's
definitely.
nice for us. We're able to shut it off and just like appreciate the matches and not overthink everything like a lot of other people do. But it's nice to be able to just sit back and watch a wrestling match that we've never seen and be like, wow, this is great. This is what we're here for. This is what we want to see.
Yeah. It's always such a fun like thing to be able to do because obviously like I know I'm like small, not just in relation to like, men, but also most women too. So like, I feel like most times when I step into the ring with someone, it's going to like, we could tell the size difference story. But I just think it's always really fun, really fun to see in my opinion. So hopefully I can keep like figuring out new things to do with it and figuring out new ways to tell that story.
Now, you're wearing the Worldwide Wrestling Dojo shirt, which, of course, is run by the world famous CB. And how is it working with him and learning under him?
Oh, he's so great to learn from. I started going there in September, I believe. And he's been, he's there like every day doing class. I've done classes with Sumi Sakai as well. She runs like the women's classes, and he's always there for those as well. If she needs help, like demonstrating something, he can like give extra advice too. He knows so much. And like, it's kind of like he gets like such a different perspective than what I've had before too. That's just like the cool thing that I've had with like going to the dojo to learn things is like he and Sumi have a different perspective than what I've learned at the Wrestle Factory. And just like every like promotion I've gone to as well, people have different opinions, and that's just like I don't know. I just like learning anything from everyone. So it's so great, like learning with me.
What's one of the major things that you've picked up at the dojo so far?
One thing that they emphasize a lot is like, let's see, they do a lot of work with like practice matches and being able to like think like on the fly a lot, because obviously you can like have ideas of like what you want to do like before going into a match, but like that was the first kind of experience I had with just like going into it and like not being able to like think of anything. Like they make you just go into like a blank slate and just figure things out like while you're in there. And that's something that they focus on a lot, and that's been like really helpful for me.
Especially in the indies where you're not going to have someone write a script for you and you have to follow a script.
Right,
You're kind of
exactly.
thrown in there and you're like, all right, I just might have met this person 10 minutes ago and now I have to somehow put together a match that's going to entertain however many people eventually will be in the crowds and watching on live streams.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously right now you're with Camp Leapfrog, and you said that you did train at Shikara for a little bit as well. Going forward, are there anything as far as promotions or anything that you have in your head, like, man, I really want to get there and work at that place?
I mean, it feels like every promotion that I like see pop up on Twitter that I've like been a fan of for a while, like there's always something in the back of my mind, like who works there a lot, like who can I get a chance to wrestle? And I'm so excited to go anywhere and everywhere I can. One that stuck out to me was Paradigm, which like has such a cool like No Hook has such a cool vibe. And I actually like was able to jump in a car and go to their last set of tapings. And so yeah, so I had a match or two for them. I'm not sure when the airing of No Hook happens or when that order will be, but I'm very excited for what I did at No Hook to possibly release.
Now, Paradigm, they do kind of like more the realism in wrestling, right? They do a lot of that type, like they do like a point system. Isn't that them that did the point system matches where it was like
I'm not sure. I've only become a fan of them from watching No Hook, so I'm not like totally sure, but I really like No Hook's vibe. With like the way that they run their promos before the matches. And the way that they do the matches themselves is like the ones that we did at this last taping were like very short. So like mostly I know from their like production how they like ran that show. It was like very short matches and like, you know, showing off like what you can do. And it was just like a very, very different from Camp Leapfrog, I think. Which is like where, yeah.
It's almost like a test, like get out there and this is almost like how you're going to get more work, like go out, impress, and then maybe you get asked to come back. Is that the type of feel?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, especially I was not like asked to come to the show. I was brought in a car with other people. So even though I was like able to thankfully like have a match on that show, it was always that like in the back of my mind, like, well, I have this one, but like, are they going to ask me to come back? And like, I'm thankful enough that I have this one, but like, I feel like that extra pressure to like do good in that, so that then they asked me to come the next time. So it was kind of like pressured, and also being out in Indiana where they filmed, it was like far away from home, only a few people that I knew. So it was kind of just hard adjusting a little bit, but I think that I learned a lot from that trip. And I'm so glad I was able to go out and do the chance to do it.
Now, you mentioned pressure and the pressure that builds. Like, how do you kind of counteract that? How do you keep the pressure at a minimum, and how do you not let it overcome you? Being young in the wrestling business, and how big of and anything could happen at any point where you can blow up just like that. I mean, especially with the internet today, and all you need to do is go viral, and then all of a sudden your bookings start to pile up and pile up. So how do you kind of stay grounded? Is there someone that kind of is there for you to keep you in check, so to speak?
I mean, I feel like it's been hard to like realize what I've done in wrestling. Like it's hard when you're living it to realize like what you've done, I think. So like I remember when I was having my matches at Christmas Trios, it didn't even hit me that I was debuting. I was just like totally calm, as if I was like calling any other practice match backstage. And then I like went out the curtain and I was like, oh, this is real life. And like then I went to got the call to go to the GCW for the Cybernetico, and I was just like, oh, this is like I knew it was big, but it just like didn't even hit me until I was about to go out the curtain and I heard the music and the announcer, and I was like, oh, this is real life. So it feels like nothing hits me until it's happening. And it's like hard to have a grasp of like what I'm doing. And so like sometimes I feel pressure to like try and like, try and like make more connections and like have a bigger like social media presence. But sometimes it just feels like, I don't know, like I don't realize what I'm doing.
That's okay. No one really knows what they're doing. They just get lucky, I think. Just throw a bunch of things at the wall. Eventually something will stick.
Yeah, that's been my plan.
So when you're in there wrestling, is there a style or a type really that you rather be in there with? Like we said with Devontae, would you rather be in there with someone who is much bigger than you? Would you rather be in there someone who's closer to your size and maybe your style, or it doesn't really matter?
I mean, I would say like I just want to like figure out what I can do with everyone. Like every time I like see a new person, especially someone who comes to Camp Leapfrog, I'm like, oh, is this like someone I could like possibly wrestle one day? And like how would our styles like connect and like what could we do together? I like wrestling bigger people a lot because I can just get them to like throw me around and we do like really cool things together. Like Devontae, I can hit tilt-a-whirl like satellite DDT on no problem. Uh, he's really easy to get around with. But like with people that are closer to my size, then I can practice like definitely a different style. So I just kind of like seeing like how I can work with different styles. Like even with like Masha Slamovich at the Cybernetico, even if she is closer to my size, she still wrestles this very like brutal like powerhouse kind of style. So either way, I'm getting thrown around. But like I think
You're the baby face. You got to have that comeback.
I gotta have that fire. So if she has to bring it out of me by suplexing me, so be it.
So you mentioned that there's people that you think that you can get in there and one day you'll wrestle. Now, is there anyone on that list that is almost at the top? Like, I got to get in there with them. Like, I can't wait till like I really want to wrestle X, Y, and Z.
Ooh. I mean, I think like definitely one of my top like dream matches that's like I don't even know if it's possible is Orange Cassidy because I'm such like a big fan of like his style and what he does. But just like anyone who comes to Leapfrog, I'm like I want to wrestle like all my like friends and people that I've come up with through Chikara because I've like seen like so much of what they can do. I want to wrestle if I get brought back to Paradigm again. I want to wrestle like more the Midwest people. I want to wrestle like West Coast people. I just want to, yeah, there's so many people like that I'd love to like work with more different styles because it has been a lot of like the powerhouses like Devontae's, I think, but like if I could wrestle like Josh Waver one day is so, like one of my friends, and like they have definitely a more technical style. So that's another one that's like closer to like home and Camp Leapfrog that I think I'd love to have one day.
And it's definitely a possibility at some point.
Oh, for sure.
You have to cross paths at camp eventually, right?
That's what I hope. I just hope I eventually just get to go through all of them like a line.
I think if you start a food fight, a preemptive food fight, that might get you at least one match.
Here we go. I'll just start throwing things and see who hits me first.
There you go. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. Throw as many things as possible and something will eventually stick.
Yep.
This is literally.
So you talked about going to the West Coast. Are you a person that like looks forward to traveling and likes being in the car and going to those different places?
Definitely. I mean, we just went to Indiana this weekend and that was like an 11-hour car trip because we couldn't get plane tickets. But that was just so much fun because you find ways to fill time. And it's just really good, like getting to know, like even my like close friends, just like getting to know them even more when we have to like talk about things at some point during this ride. And so that was a really fun trip. I'd love to go up to like Limitless one day in Maine. I'd love to go to like the South into Texas and Alabama. I met some of like the Las Vegas wrestlers at Paradigm. I'd love to go and see them on the West Coast if that's where they want to be. Just like I really love the travel and look forward to it. And yeah, so the more I get to do that, the sooner I can, the better.
And go ahead.
Go
Okay.
ahead.
We ask this a lot to most any wrestler that we have on. And are you a fan now? And being a wrestler now,
You ask this a lot.
I do, yeah, because I'm so interested in your point of view as a professional wrestler, because looking at wrestling as a fan, you're always a fan, but a lot of the times that's not the case when you're a professional wrestler. Sometimes there's wrestlers that told us that no, that they don't even bother, that they just, it maybe gets too much in their mind and they start nitpicking, and then others think that's stupid and you only learn from watching more wrestling. So are you, I mean, obviously you said you were a fan when you were growing up, but do you still watch it? Do you still get lost in it as a fan?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I still try to watch, like, keep up with what's happening, and like most of the companies that I can, as much as my brain can hold in a week, I try to keep up with live wrestling. I try to keep, like, watch old wrestling. I'll like watch anything that I can, because everything has so many different things to learn from. And yeah, like I still watch things as a fan, and sometimes like my like wrestler brain will turn on and like hear and see things to pick up on, and see like where things could be changed, or where I should change something based on like how good someone else does it. But like if a match is really good, or if it's a match that I was a fan of since I was a kid, I'll still like get lost in it, and just I'm still able to see that, like, I'm just a fan.
Yeah, but do you have it in the back of your mind that, okay, I'm a fan, but I'm also doing this, so this could somehow, some way be me down the line? Like, does it get you
Yeah.
more excited?
Yeah, like, I don't know. Yeah, just watching, even like any promotion, that I would look, even just Leapfrog, I think, like, see, even being there, like, acting as a fan for those tapings, I'm still just watching it, like, excited for my friends, but just getting lost in like what they're doing. Like, even that, I love the live atmosphere so much, especially. So I'll always get lost when I'm there in the crowd, like feeling that moment and like that hype of being there live.
Now, I noticed behind you there's a bunch of stuff going on, but I noticed one thing in particular. It says brotherly love on your sign. Now, is this
Except for this
done?
podcast. I just changed it like right before coming on.
I was gonna say, is this what she always has up there, or was this planned?
No, yeah, this is this is like what I have back here, and when I do promos, just like this whole setup. And I like the idea of like a sign like that, and I noticed it seems like a very like YouTube vlogger type thing to do, and I was like, yeah, that would
It's
be
a
fun
very
to have.
nice touch.
Yes,
It
and
is.
so I'll like
It's
change it out
nice.
whenever I do promos, or I'll like put like the promotion, like I'll put Camp Leapfrog on there when I'm doing a Camp Leapfrog promo. Or like it's just like something to change up and like make promos like more dynamic. I think that it's like it changes up a little bit every time.
It's sort of, and now that you pointed it out, it kind of reminds me of like if you watch Friends, and like there's always something on the doodle pad on the back of the door, or Seinfeld, there's always a Superman in Seinfeld. Like that's a really cool gimmick to have. And
It's a 90s gimmick.
Yeah, exactly, which is why we like it.
That's why I called I was like, this had to have been planned.
Yeah, no, that was definitely planned. I was like, all right, I gotta have something fun in the background here. And I was like, yeah, I'll just throw out the podcast that I'm on.
And of all people, I did not think I was gonna pick that up. And Larry can attest to this.
Yeah,
I'm
surprised.
all over the place.
Good job.
But I honed in on that one.
So since you're a fan, you still watch, who is your favorite wrestler to watch on mainstream TV?
Or not, whatever.
I mean, yeah, the big companies anyway.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of what like basically any of the women in WWE are doing right now. Like Sasha Banks has been like killing it for the past year. She was, because like when I was like 14, 15 and she was a heel in NXT, I hated her. So that was like kind of part
You were
of me,
supposed
like,
to.
yeah, definitely, yeah. So I was still like such a fan back then, but then obviously I liked her like more as she started becoming a face. But then I just started realizing, oh, like she's really good. So like how now that's my wrestler brain being like, no, she's just you have to like watch her and study everything she does now. Um, and yeah, so I'm a big fan of what she's been doing. Um, more mainstream. I like best friends in AEW. Just like whatever they do. I've been a fan of them for a while. Yeah, so those are kind of like, I keep out for like my favorites on the mainstream TV, and I'll watch like anything that they do every week. Daniel Bryan I've been a fan of for a while. Um
You're checking all my boxes. You're naming all my favorites. I think it's funny because it's all like different styles and personalities too. It's really what you become a wrestling fan for, is because you can be drawn into everything, like in anything. Like you can all of a sudden like, I never liked that person, never liked that person. All of a sudden they get a little bit or a tweak, or they get a change in character. Like, wow, this is great. You grow with like a new appreciation. And I think people kind of forget that in wrestling. Like they kind of get overly critical about everything. And I mean, it happens. Like I've probably been guilty of it as well. But I mean, when you just sit back and you just enjoy it for what it is, and like you're given like the most random things in wrestling, it's like some of the most far out ideas. And you're just like, if you were to just sit there and be like, this is ridiculous, but I'm watching it and it's fun. It's kind of fun to watch the ridiculousness that is still professional wrestling.
for sure. That's like one thing I love about wrestling is that like it's a medium that can hold so many different like genres of like the art that is wrestling. Like you can have like, sure, maybe there's like deathmatch wrestling over here, and like I'm not really a fan of that, but like I respect that, like I respect what they do. And then you have like the technical wrestlers, and like the comedy wrestlers, and the luchadors. And there's like so many different things that people can do. There's so many different styles that you can learn. um and yeah, like and all the like the fun stories that can be told. uh I love seeing everything unfold, even if I'm not like as much a fan of it. It's just really cool seeing people try things, I think. Like, yeah, you tried that thing.
Yeah, it's kind of, it locks you in. You're like, well, I didn't like this, but now I'm hooked on what's going to
Yeah.
happen at the end. It's like
Yeah, it's
the
like you drew
ever-running
me in.
sitcom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's why we like Camp Leapfrog so much, because it is so all over the board. It's not just stuck in one place. And as soon as we saw the first event and how much fun not only we had watching it, but watching everyone perform on Camp Leapfrog, everyone looks like they're having fun. They look like they're into it. And even everyone around the ring who, yeah, they're still members of Camp Leapfrog, but they're having fun cheering, like you said, for your friends doing it. So like I think that's the best part, is it's so it's crazy, but it's really good wrestling. And I think not enough people watch it and appreciate it as this is legit, really, really good wrestling. It's not just this gimmick of having fun at a camp. Like it's insane.
I'll say this, that Effie and Still Life match was absolutely insane.
Mm-hmm.
Was absolutely insane. And they pulled out all the stops. And it's like, so like you're doing a Valentine's Day themed wrestling show that was all over the place. And it was great. Like, and it was almost like it wasn't expected, but it's not a surprise that it was that great, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, even like when we were there filming it, like we kind of filmed it in like parts, So we had like, we filmed what happens at Still Life's party. That's happening like over here. And then we're filming like the matches later in the day. We're filming like little promos in between or whatever. So it's like kind of hard to see how it will come together. And like I can sit there and watch the matches, or like be a part of the like Still Life's party segments. And I can say like, oh, I think like this is going to turn out fun. But I didn't really know how it was going to turn out until everything got put together that day. And then I'm like, oh, I really like the way that this did look on camera, or the way this turned out. So it's almost like when it airs, I like have so much excitement just watching it happen all over again, because it's like a totally different angle and just seeing everything all in like one piece. It's like just a way different view of it.
And it's something that's completely different and not being done really right now or ever in wrestling. So I mean, it's fun to be along for that ride and see how it's starting to get some steam, and it's starting to build up some momentum, and more people are starting to watch it and start to become a fan of it. And you can tell because there's more and more people that want to be involved from the wrestling side, because they're getting more people involved. Like it used to be just like the local talent, and now they're bringing in more people, and more eyes are being put on it because of them.
Oh man, yeah. That's one thing that has been like super fun about being part of Leapfrog from the beginning is it's like, I show up to the first day of Leapfrog and it's just like me and my friends having a barbecue. And then all of a sudden I show up at the next show and I just see Warhorse there. I'm like, oh, okay. So I was like, all right. And then there's just like more and more people. And then we have like at Love Frog, we had Basic Becca and Love Doug from New England. And we're just bringing like more and more people and just slowly branching out. And
they fit
yeah.
in. It's great because and there's always that thing where like we're bringing them from the other camp. That's like the best part. Like you always have that to lean back on. Like, who is this person? Oh, I came from camp such and such.
Yeah.
And there's always that, and it's so cool that it's that simple to do, but it's that creative at the same time.
Yeah, like I think that's one of my favorite things about Leapfrog too, is just that like we can just like say anything and it's just like it just is true because it's like we can do anything in like the world of Leapfrog. Like, yeah, like Still Life is throwing a party and Effie and like the Runway are here to ruin it. Sure, why not? It's like
they're the bad apples from another camp.
Yeah, exactly. A very good professional wrestler has been the champion for 24 years and no one's been able to take it from him. Like, yeah, that's real.
So Abby, before we let you go, unless you have anything else, we wanted to let you promote whatever you want to put out there, your social medias, and hopefully when we can see Camp Leapfrog next.
Yeah, both my Twitter and Instagram are at OMG Abby Jane. What's the next show I'm at? The next show I will be at is the next Camp Leapfrog, which is going to be it's March 20th. I believe that's been announced. We did announce what the next show is, Camper Choice. So that'll be soon, and we'll have more details on that soon because it is only in a couple weeks. I can't believe it's already coming up on us so soon.
So Camper's Choice, is that like, who does that mean? The fans get to pick the matchups?
That's what we haven't like gotten a lot of details yet, but hopefully we'll like start getting some more of that out soon.
That's a very
so I'm excited to see how that's going to work.
Or is it the Campers Choose? Maybe that's what the Camper's Choice.
Makes sense.
Camper's Choice, or the campers maybe choose. I don't know. I'm just spitballing.
Either way, it's a very intriguing concept for the next show.
Definitely, I'm really excited to see like how that goes.
Well, Abby, thank you so much.
Right. You also have a water maneuver store. I don't want to.
I do. Yes. I was going to say that. I was like, wait, stop. I have merch.
I got you covered.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I knew you got me. Yes, it's whatamaneuver.net/collections/Abby-Jane. I'm also the first one, if you go on their list of collections, the joy of having a name that starts with A. So you can go on there. Yeah. Got a fun shirt.
So, Abby, thank you once again for taking the time talking with us. It was nice talking to you. And we hope that we can see you very soon on March 20th for Camper's Choice.
Yeah, for sure. It was really fun doing this. Like, thanks for inviting me on here. Hopefully you enjoy the next Leapfrog show.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure we will.
Yes. Thanks so much and have a good night.
Thank you. You too.